Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface on the beta for Warlords of Draenor. Now, one of the best things about being a beta tester is sometimes Blizzard put tools into the game to expedite matters, to speed things up and allow you to get to the end of that content's testing. Today, I'm going to be doing that with garrisons and show you the evolution of your garrison from ground zero all the way through to stage 3. Now, this is going to be the Alliance side today, but Hordes, don't worry, I will be doing a version of this from your side of matters in Frostfire Ridge 2. So what you see in front of you right now is literally ground zero. This is the piece of woodland in Shadowmoon Valley that the Alliance will begin to create their very own garrison, which will start with stage 1. And here it is, pretty much in the exact same spot I was before. We've seen that the woodland has now given way to our first area of garrison. It's rather basic, isn't it? You've got wooden walls and some stone pillaring support around the place. Buildings aren't yet constructed because we haven't built any, and there's not that much ground inside with which to get too adventurous with what buildings you want to pop inside. The architect is outside awaiting orders, and don't worry, we'll go a little bit more in depth in the architect a little later on, but don't be deceived by this. Although it's humble beginnings, shall we say, this is clearly something we have yet to ever control within the World of Warcraft, so it is still substantial to that degree. And even in these very early stages, you can still do multiple things. Firstly, construct about 3 buildings in your garrison to start with, as well as get some followers recruited in your garrison and send them on their way to do some questing too. This may be stage 1, but there will be plenty for you to get your teeth into. But things really pick up when we hit stage 2. And this change is epitomised in no better way than the aesthetic feel of the garrison. Suddenly, stage 1's cowboy fort has given way to stage 2 with its thick stone walls and Stormwind-esque feel to it. The interior is vastly larger as well, allowing you to construct more buildings inside of it. And we suddenly have this delicious fountain as the centerpiece for your garrison. But we head over to the eastern side and we now have another exit opening up further areas, an herb garden, an area for all our followers to chill out in. And then just a little bit further to the northeast, we have both a mine area and also a fishing area, somewhere that looks beautiful, and you can literally just stay here and fish until you hit maximum level, but also do it in a beautiful, serene environment. So if we return back to the garrison, we now have a big staircase leading up into a vastly different town hall, with a menagerie for pets over to the west. But when we go inside the town hall, we'll notice that things are becoming intrinsically linked. Not only do we have a pretty cool command area, but we have the architect and the command table where we deal with our followers right next to each other, definitely giving a synergy now between the two. But although that was stage 2, everything kicks off in stage 3. And just like the transition from stage 1 to stage 2, the aesthetic change from stage 2 to stage 3 is quite dramatic as well, as we have this magnificent entranceway allowing us into our garrison. And where we could only construct 1 or 2 buildings when we arrived in, suddenly that's given way to 3 or 4 buildings, and that's just at the start. Come into the town centre and our fountain is just looking that little bit better, and the town hall in the distance looking amazing. The eastern exit has been pushed further back to allow the construction of more buildings. We can see the herb garden and the followers' home there too, but now we have this phenomenal eastern exit which leads through to another tower and also to the mine and to the fishing area which we saw before. Everything is looking 10 times better than it was. Because your garrison is so vast in size now, Blizzard have actually decided to introduce a small piece of fast travel within it. These are Imperial constructs. There are 2 of them within the garrison. You can go over to one and right click and physically move it where you want. I'm going to position this one just by the base of the staircase, and then go to the second one and move it to another location. You'll notice that there's a very faint blue line that links between the 2 portals. As long as that blue line is active, you will be able to travel from point A to point B. And it seems to have a distance of approximately 100 or so yards on it. If you get too far away, then the blue breaks and you have to get back into range. Also, do not line of sight them. That tends to break the blue. But once you have positioned the second one, you simply have to walk into the portal and it will zap you straight across. I know it's a small thing, but at the same time, it's still pretty cool, for which you can travel between 2 very specific points, especially if they are 2 points that you use on a very regular basis, like the town hall and then, let's say, the inn, for argument's sake. But now we need to get into the real crux of the garrison. We've seen some aesthetic changes, but now we have to get down to the itty-bitty details. Firstly, speak to your garrison innkeeper and she will provide you with a specific garrison hearthstone. But this place is empty. We've got Stormwind guards walking around the place and we've got some NPCs, but what I need to fill up my garrison is some followers, which you can gain through doing various quests and finding them across the whole of Draenor. But thankfully, I've got some provided for me courtesy of Blizzard. But your garrison won't feel like your garrison until you start to construct your own buildings on them. Some of them are set in stone and they can only be unlocked when you do either a certain criteria for a quest or you find the plan for it scattered around a mob or a quest reward from Draenor itself. But we have the license to construct some buildings on 7 plots. We can plop a couple of large buildings, a couple of medium-sized buildings and 3 smaller-sized buildings in this area. You'll notice that each have their own abilities if you pop them down there. Get this one to level 3, for example, and it allows a follower with the bodyguard trait to accompany you around the whole of Draenor. That means you get your own NPC to constantly fight with you no matter where you go. With the gearworks, you can construct some siege vehicles and drive it around. You can do once per day. And if you've seen my streams recently set in Nagrand, in your own little garrison outpost there, I have had the ability to construct a siege vehicle and go round Nagrand, literally blowing stuff up. It's been ridiculously good fun, and the stables will allow you to increase your mount speed in Draenor by 20% if you get that to level 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the barracks into one of the sections, and then let's go with the dwarven bunker and pop that in the other one. Now, when you start to put a building down for construction, it will take a set period of time to build. Some of them are done almost instantly. They take about 30 seconds. Others take an hour or so, and some may take even longer dependent on what stage they are in. So now we've got our large buildings, let's have a look at some of the smaller buildings. We have a barn, we have a lumber mill, we have an inn so we can get some extra followers. We've got a sparring arena, which gives us some bonuses should we get into trouble outside, and a trading post, which affects your exalted reputations and also how much you gain reputation while in Draenor itself. These lead to some very interesting decisions about which buildings you want to put, because they all can't go into your garrison. You have to be very exact. So I'm going to pop a inn to get some more followers, and then a trading post, which I can't do because I've run out of resources. Yes, your constructions rely on garrison resources to be able to be built. You can get garrison resources by completing quests. You can get garrison resources by defeating rare elites in the outside world. It's a very clever way for Blizzard to make sure that you're not constantly rooted to your garrison, but do get yourself back out there to fight, to quest, and gain yourself some more garrison resources. Thankfully, I can just get that changed really quickly here on the video. Okay, so let's play Let's Pretend, and I've gone back out into the world. I've done a big wad of questing and this, that and the other, and I've managed to bring myself back up to 1,000 garrison resources, which appears to be the current cap for resources at the moment. I can finish off the buildings that I want to construct. So I've put my barracks there, and I've now got the 3 smaller buildings with which to choose from. And these are all profession buildings: alchemy, tailoring, enchanting, engineering, jewel crafting, salvage, scribe, storehouse, the forge and the tannery. The storehouse is your bank. And the salvage yard is quite cool because you can gain salvage from mobs, which you may, depending on the size of it, be able to convert into gear, not only for your followers, but gear potentially for you as well. So there we go. I've now completed my buildings on the plots of land available to me within the garrison. And if we nip outside, we can see where I'm actually constructing the buildings. We've got our peons, and they're hard at work building what I've set them to do. So of course, because these things take a certain amount of time to complete, I would theoretically be waiting here for a couple of hours or so. Thankfully, Blizzard have managed to provide us with a tool to complete every single building immediately. So when you do finish a building, there'll be a scroll outside. You have to finalize that you're happy with the building, and then it will be okayed. Depending on what building you constructed also depends on whether you gain an ability. Because I constructed the barracks, I get the call to arms. And what that allows me to do is when I'm out and about in Draenor, I can use my garrison ability and summon forth a group of soldiers that will fight for me for a very brief period of time. Depending on what level the garrison is, will depend on that specific ability's power. Now remember, these buildings are level 1 buildings, and your buildings operate very much like the garrison itself, and they too can be constructed all the way up to level 3. So if I want to start boosting my buildings up and upgrading them, then I need to get back out into the big bad world again, and I need to start doing quests and events and rare mob kills and gain myself more garrison resources, so I will have them available so I can start to upgrade. So back to the architects table we go. It's very simple to see which buildings you can upgrade because they all have the green pointy up arrow next to them. It will tell you how many resources it costs to upgrade and also the timescales involved too. You'll also get an image of what the new building is going to look like aesthetically as well. Again, because they cost resources, you're going to run out most likely before you can do all the buildings that you want to. But once more, again, this stops you from being completely reliant from positioning yourself in your garrison and not moving anywhere. It gets you back out there and it gets you engaged in what's going on outside. Remember, your garrison is not meant to be the be-all and end-all of your endgame content in Warlords of Draenor. It's meant to be intrinsically linked to what's going on. And because you can start construction on your garrison straight away at level 90, recall, you've got to go from 90 to 100. So there's going to be a lot of time that you're not in the garrison, out and about, gathering resources through completing quests and defeating rare elites, etc., etc., and also participating in some of the events. So when you do cap your resources at 1,000, always make sure to return to your garrison and get something constructed if you possibly can. Therefore, you're always going to be on top of it, and it's not going to be an end game only piece of content for you. Suddenly, you might have some buildings up to level 2 at level 95, 96. You never know. But one thing is for sure, is your garrison always feels alive. It feels like a thriving community and not just a fortress of solitude for you alone. No matter what building you go in, there seems to be something going on. An NPC whinging, an adventurer wondering what he should do next, a kennel, so there's dogs running around the place, your followers trotting around, miners trotting around, your guards are walking. It feels intrinsically linked to you as a player, and it feels alive. And I think it's possibly one of the best things that Blizzard have managed to construct within the World of Warcraft, full stop, no matter what content we've been doing from day one, raiding, dungeons, etc., etc. This is something which has so much potential attached to it. But look, we have this place now. It is thriving, but we've got followers. And these followers are not doing anything. So what can we do with them? Well, this is where we go back to the town hall and we go to our command table. This is the place which will actually give your followers quests to do. And just like yourself, these quest levels will range from level 90 through to level 100. You can see clearly on the left hand side what the level of the quest is. And then on the right hand side, you'll get what reward you'll get by completing the quest. And also, there might be a cost involved, which will normally be garrison resources. It's not much. You can see these two at the bottom here only cost 10 resources each. So let's click on to the level 90. If we drag one follower into that area, we can get them off killing some cursed wolves out in the woods. If I pick this level 100 character, he has a 78% chance of completing this quest. But there is a very cool way with which to get some better odds. You see, next to the wolf, it has a special ability, Wild Aggression. If I have a follower that can counter the Wild Aggression attack, then it will actually increase the percentage that I have. So if I scroll down here, we'll see that I've got Tormok. And Tormok, although level 93, which is 7 levels below the guy that I was going to send out to do it, can counter that ability. If I drop it in, it's now put a tick by it, which means, yes, that Cursed Wolf's ability has been countered, and my percent chance has moved from 65 instead of 78 for the level 100 all the way through to level 100. So this mission is a guaranteed success. You then have the cross swords on your mini-map. If you click onto that, you can see the progression of it. So I've sent him away. There's 29 minutes left until he returns back to base. It also shows you the available missions that you have, and you can view that anywhere that you are in Draenor. So let's have a look at these other two. Now these are level 100 quests, so I'm most likely not going to be able to complete them because I don't have a plethora of level 100 characters. You can see that my percentage chance is actually 0. But for this one, I can have 3 followers attack for me, and I've got 3 mobs in this instance with which to fight. Also look at the duration of the quest. It's a total 8 hour. It takes 4 hours to go over there and 4 hours with which to return. It's a very long quest indeed. And also, when the followers come back, they may need to rest up, which means they won't be available to participate in other quests until they are back up to maximum. Now, I have a couple of followers, although lower levels, which can counter the special abilities of 2 of the bosses, but a third one, I don't. So I can only drag a follower across and hope that my chances of success will be a bit better than 0. It doesn't look like it, does it? So that's them gone for 8 hours at least. So you have to take that into consideration, especially if you send your biggest and your toughest followers out there. Here we go again. Just 2 mobs to fight, but again 3 special abilities with which to counter. I can counter that one, and I can counter that one, but once more, I don't have a follower with which to counter the third ability. This is where the risk and reward factor comes in. I'm pretty sure the percentage down at the bottom isn't quite working as intended right now for this level of quest. I'm sure just by the very nature of countering, I should have been able to have X percentage. But remember, these quests that you get, these missions which you get for your followers, won't stay forever. They will only stay for a set period of time. So the risk and reward is, do I send them out and hope that I might just get that percentage or not? But that's your followers dealt with. What about you? Well, you also have a command table, and this is very much like the command table that we had in patch 5.2 on the Isle of Thunder. You yourself have given yourself a couple of options. I can either deal with the Stone Fury Cliffs, or I can go over to Shatrath City and deal with some dailies there. I will get myself 800 Apexis crystals as a reward, and they can be turned in for big rewards over in your faction hubs on Ashran. So once more, my followers are out the way, my buildings have been constructed, and it's time for me on a daily basis to get my ass out of the Garrison 2. Some really funky, cool ways of getting you out there. So this is where I wrap up today's video, and we all go away happy in the knowledge that Garrisons has a lot of substance to it. No. You see, there's more to it as well. You see, if Sergeant Crowler here is offering a quest, then more often than not, it's going to be because your garrison is under attack. And you, by accepting this quest, are now going to participate in a single-player scenario specifically designed for your garrison's defense. Now, first of all, I think this is the proper usage for a scenario within the World of Warcraft. I don't think they should be three-person. I think they should be solo-based and put around a very specific set of criteria. In this case, it is the defense of your garrison. But that said, when you actually go into the world, you'll see that your followers and your soldiers and everyone is running around in a little bit of panic. We now have to see where the Gron are going to come from to attack our base. But there's a lot more to it than simply defense. Sure, you've got the Gron coming in and you attack them and you start to beat them off with your stick and your magics and your weapons and whatnot. But you will also have certain criteria, certain hidden criteria with which to try and accomplish things as well. First things first, you have a kill counter at the top which will show how many Gron have actually been dispatched within your garrison, which is pretty darn cool. Maybe the higher that becomes, the bigger the reward you will get. But you also have to make sure that you defend the buildings. It's all well and good staying in one specific spot while trying to defend your garrison, but what happens if the Gron are hitting one of your buildings, like your enchanting building or your barracks or your inn? You have to go and make sure that those Gron are defeated. The more buildings which are still standing by the end of the evasion will actually increase the type of reward that you will get. You will get bonus rewards for actually making sure that these criteria have been met. It's quite a long scenario too, so make sure you've probably set aside about 15 minutes of your life with which to do it. And it's pretty darn intense, and I have to say, at the item level of this pre-constructed character, which was only 580, FYI, my level 90 character on the live servers at the minute is 566, so it's only 14 levels above that at level 100. Yes, I found this a little bit tough with which to do so. Sure, I haven't put all my buffs and everything on at this point, but never mind. But yeah, it was pretty tough to do, so hopefully with a lot better gear at level 100, things will turn out to be a little bit easier than it proved to be in this instance. You go through various stages as well. You defeat your Gron in stage 1, you defeat the Gron in stage 2, but then you have an endurance to go through and you have to physically ride it out for a set period of time. In this case, it was over 8 minutes of fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, and that proved a big challenge within itself. Again, probably because the item level of my character. Mini boss Gron would come in at certain points in that endurance section, but it all culminated in this 2 million behemoth of a Gron which comes in at the end. You've also got the opportunity to protect the soldiers in this battle as well. If they have been incapacitated, they will have a blood drop above their head, very large in size, very difficult for you to miss. If that blood drop gets to 0, sadly your soldier will die. But if you manage to get to them without being attacked and interrupted and right click onto them, you can revive that soldier and get them back into the fight. This was ridiculously good fun. And if they vary the invasions on the garrisons, it could bring in a lot of longevity to them as well. This was a Gron defense. Maybe we have an Iron Horde defense, etc, etc, etc. And if they switch up the rewards because of this, it could mean even more fun. But I think garrisons, from the evolution on that field that we saw at the beginning to what we have here at the end, a defense of a massive fortress, is simply breathtaking. And I really hope that you enjoyed the vid. Please do give it a thumbs up, and also love to hear your comments about it down below. Please also subscribe to my channel and follow me on Twitter, Facebook and twitch.tv/Heal vs Babyface for live Warlords of Draenor streaming. And I shall be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye bye.